Jim Weber, we'll go ahead and call this to order. I just want to take a quick second on this, a little bit of a dreary Veterans Day, but shout out to all the veterans for their service, so thank them so much for that. And if you would like to go ahead and get started there, Mr. Weber.
Roll.
Jim Weber,
Here.
Dina Lori, Ed Zosky, Michael McCarthy, Gina Driscoll.
All right. Okay, we have a quorum. All right, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
You weren't here, Ed.
Ed, you can. You missed. Okay, so we have Mike McCarthy. And Gina. Okay.
Oh, did we vote?
Oh, we gotta vote.
All
on
in
minutes.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's official now. Okay, so the first and only case, case 19-SU-30, petition of Tim Reinhardt for a special use to allow an accessory structure which has an alternative exterior materials and exceeds the height allowed at 235 State Street, PIN number 010132305017. Are you Mr. Reinhardt? Could you step up there to the microphone, please? You don't have to, but if you would you give us your name and address?
Tim Reinhardt, and 235 State Street, East Peoria. I don't live there yet. I'm trying to fix it. I've had it. I bought it a little over a year ago in October, and still kind of working on it, try to get it ready to live in.
Solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I affirm.
Thank you, sir. Okay, tell us what you want to do there. I'm gonna have to swear you in if you're gonna step up there. Yep. Could you just state your name for us, sir?
My name is Jeremy Stoller. I'm the attorney counsel for Tim Reinhardt.
Okay. If you'll swear in, please.
I won't raise my right hand, but
Okay.
I'll affirm.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
I do affirm. And I am counsel for Tim here just to assist him in connection with the special use application. His application is to build an accessory building, a shed behind his residence there at 235 State Street. I'm sure you're all familiar. It's M3 transitional zoning there. The reason this is a special use is simply because of, as you have indicated, the materials on the outside that he's proposing to use, as well as the height. This became a need for him as he bought the property. It was a foreclosure property a year ago. He's done extensive work on it. And the city then condemned the accessory building, the shed on the property, which he has torn down and complied with that request. He now needs a place to store his tools and supplies. He's a contractor by trade, self-employed, a busy man, does work throughout the country, and he needs a place to store his equipment, not to operate for the public, simply to store his equipment. And this is a specified, very specific special use category as number 13 of the R1 special use provisions, which are incorporated all into M3. So it's a use that I believe the city and the council has acknowledged as a very important one, and that's solely its purpose. It's not to store a boat or lawnmowers or anything like that. This shed is going to be located behind his residence in a fairly narrow lot. All these lots are long and narrow, so that hardly any of this shed is visible from the street. The the only individuals that will see this shed are his next door neighbors. One lot on one side and two lots on the other side. And Tim has printed off pictures of the general location of the shed. Is it okay if I hand these out?
Sure.
To each of you? I don't know if I have one for each of you, but maybe you can share. If you notice where that white van is sitting, that's the approximate location of the shed. So there would be the front of the shed, a part of the front of the shed visible from the street. And the request is to construct this as a as accessory building with steel siding, painted steel. It is, I believe it's factory painted. It is factory painted steel. It is used, but the material he's using is in pretty good condition. And we have also laid out the tin for you. If you'd like to see a sample of the tin he's planning to use, I can also approach you and give you these pictures. Is that okay?
Sure.
So we're acknowledging the tin is not new, but it is in pretty decent condition. Cost is obviously a serious object here, which is the basis of the tin. The next door neighbors, who are the main ones affected by this, are all aware of this proposed construction, and Tim has asked them of their opinion and whether they would have any objection to this proposed shed. They're virtually the only ones that are going to see it. They have all been willing to sign letters indicating that not only do they not have an objection to this shed, but they are highly in favor of it for a couple of reasons. One of the neighbors has indicated voluntarily they really appreciate what Tim has done to improve this property already. He just bought it a year ago, or not quite a year ago.
Actually, it was a year in October.
A little more than a year, just over a year. He's done quite a bit of work to the house there, torn down the shed, which is condemned, and they appreciate that work, and they like the idea of the shed being there. And I apologize, I only have one copy that I printed of these letters, but I feel like you ought to have them.
Okay.
If I can just pass
Sure.
them to you. Do you want me to read them to each of you? They're very short, or,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay? This is addressed from, let's see. This is the neighbor at 221 State Street, directed to the East Peoria Planning and Development. Hello, we are the McCarrolls, live at 221 State Street, East Peoria. 2 houses over from Tim Reinhardt at 235 State Street. Now interrupt and say, there are 2 houses over, but from what I understand, by the layout of the lots, they have a pretty good line of vision of this lot here. Am I correct, Tim? In the backyard. We see no reason to object to his request for the structure he wants to build on his property. Thank you, Don and Sally McCarroll. Another letter to whom it may concern. We live at 229 State Street, right next door to Tim Reinhardt at 235 State Street. We see no reason to object to his request for the structure he wants to build on his property. As a neighbor, he has made a ton of upgrades to his house for the better. Valerie and Mark Klein. And then lastly, I am the neighbor located at 241 State Street. I do not have any issues with my neighbor using steel siding on his shed. I can't read the last name, Don M. Okay. Now, those are not signed, notarized affidavits, but to the extent you would require that, that's something we could obtain.
So as well.
We understand that the special use categories allow you as the committee to approve the steel siding, even though it would not normally be permitted. And I will make this note, the accessory building requirements that actually prohibit steel siding do indicate that they are limited to apply to residential areas. And in one sense, this is a residential use, but it is in a transitional commercial/industrial area. We really feel like, if anything, the shed will add to the tax roll, not take it away here. The neighbors are in favor of it. They have indicated that. This is a use to help a man get going on his, or continue to operate his business on the only property he has bought and improved for the city. He's been cooperative in tearing down the shed that he really intended to use when he bought it that was condemned. And this is a vast improvement over what was there in the first place. And he continues to make, intends to continue to make improvements as he's able and needs to. I would be glad to field questions
Okay.
if you would have them.
Gina?
I guess my only question about the picture of the new factory painted material is this adequate to complete the building in its entirety? Or is the building going to remain under construction for some time before Mr. Reinhardt gets more pieces of this metal to finish the building?
Sure. I guess first of all, it is not new factory painted. It's
Oh, I'm
used.
sorry.
It's used.
Right,
but
new
I don't know.
over the picture we were supplied from before.
Okay.
That's-
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure we weren't trying to pull something over
No,
on
no,
the
no,
board.
I understand.
So the picture that you have there is not all of the tin. And he does have more tin there, and I believe sufficient tin. He indicated to me.
I think it would be close, but I would not be accumulating additional used metal. If I would run out, I would be purchasing new, because that was from a job that I had, and I thought it was good shape, and I obtained it and moved it there for this purpose.
Okay.
And you have funds for that?
I have beige colored tin that would be on the roof, and this green tin, it looks like, I'd probably make maybe 9 foot tall of my wall, and I have stated in this drawing of your packet that you have of a 14-foot truss. So I could have like a two-tone to make it look better for the top 5-foot beige, and then the roof, which you really wouldn't see, but my soffit and fascia would be green and the lower part green. Or just, I'm just asking, presenting to you, you're gonna tell me what I can or cannot do, so, and I respect your position.
That was the only question I had, Jim.
Okay. Mike,
Intend to,
you got your mic on?
I'm sorry, I do have it on, yes.
Okay, all right.
Is it not picking up? No. Is there intent to comply with every other aspect of the zoning code regarding setbacks and site coverage, impervious surfaces and that?
We believe we can meet that. Now, I know Glenn mentioned this in our informal discussions about meeting this setback on the side yard, 5 feet. And I believe our diagram doesn't depict that we're
No, it
complying
encroaches
with
on the neighbor's property.
so
We
I-
understand it's rough, it's giving us a location, but that's generating the question.
That would be, yeah. Tim's aware of that. He believes he can meet that. There is concrete there already from the existing shed. And
I didn't pull a string line, but standing on the property lines that was marked recently for, there was some other reason, maybe the commercial lot was sold and they had to back up through our area to establish that. So they marked it, and I stood there and looked and measured the existing concrete, and it looked like it met the 5 foot. But I didn't pull a string line through, but it did. As near as I could tell you, it looked like it measured the 5 foot.
All right, well, as long as you're going to be in compliance with other aspects of the ordinance, I don't have any more questions.
okay, and that's our intention.
All right, Ed?
I don't have any other questions either.
Dino?
I might be a little confused. Why do we need a shed that size? You're talking about tools? I mean, are you talking about large tools, trucks?
I do carpentry work, renovation,
Yeah.
remodeling,
Yeah,
And I was hoping that it would be big enough that I could back my truck in, my work truck, like in the wintertime and stuff, and still do some work. But, yeah, I would have like some of my supplies of just whatever working, and I was hoping that this back part that I drew on here is where I could push my lawnmower, wheelbarrows, and yard equipment, things like that in it.
it's a rather large building. An 8-foot door would be plenty to get a vehicle inside.
Oh, you mean like the height?
Yeah, why?
I have a Sprinter van that I bought that I'm fixing up. So they stand tall, and if I have a ladder rack on it, that was the only reason, it looked like that's what I would have to have for that Sprinter van to go in with the ladder rack, as far as the height.
No, that is.
And that has to be parked inside?
Pardon me?
And the vehicle has to be parked
No,
inside?
it doesn't have to be parked, but I was hoping at times I could put it inside. Yes, if the weather's bad, if I need to load, unload, or
I
work.
mean,
or-
it seemed like you could easily meet the requirements without a special use, right?
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
And what's your total height of the building? I mean,
It's 14
Steel
feet
sidings.
from the floor to the truss is 14 feet.
right?
And then the.
You're gonna put a
then there's just
10-foot
the-
door in there.
Pardon me?
14,
No, the door is gonna be 10 foot, it says.
10 foot
Yeah.
door.
Is that 10 foot wide or 10 foot tall?
10 foot, 10
Wide.
foot wide.
Now, how tall?
Whatever I can get under my truss so that my van will back in. So, yeah, I don't,
Steel
it's,
siding. Special uses for the steel.
It's for both.
It's both. Oh, it's both.
What is the, what's the limit on accessory buildings for height without a special use? I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't need-
Can't exceed the height of the structure.
From my understanding, it cannot exceed the height of the primary structure.
primary structure, and when Joe was there, we looked at it, and I told him that, and he says, okay, so you're 412 pitch, and we're the 20-foot wide, so the 10 feet 4 is 40 inches. He says, it looks like your house is set up higher than where this shed would be. He says, it looks like it's pretty close. So, when we addressed the height issue with Joe, we both stood back and looked at it. We didn't shoot a transit, obviously, but he said he thought it would be within that, requirement of the primary structure.
Honestly, I don't remember that being a basis for the need for a special use.
I didn't either.
And perhaps, that just needs to be looked at again and whether,
Okay, the other thing,
Yeah,
what is the roofing material gonna be?
Yeah, this
The same material that you can use
Oh,
on the
metal,
side?
yeah, that's-
Okay, all the questions I have.
Okay, well, I had the same questions. I'm not as concerned about the siding as I am the height of the structure. I'm reading the analysis here from city, and it says 4 feet taller than the home structure. Yeah. So, Glenn, are we mistaken there? Is it,
It's the same, it's 4 foot taller?
can I ask what you're reading from, Mr. Weber? What?
yeah, the city gives us the agenda for tonight, and it's got an analysis on there of what is being sought and what the special use would be for. And it's for the alternative exterior material and a proposed accessory structure to be 4 feet taller than the home.
I can try to, I don't know, maybe it's a level on top of the house and somebody stick a stick up, but when Joe was there with me and we discussed it and talked at it, and he said he thought it would look like it was pretty close.
Yeah, and you might be right, but it's hard for us to vote on something that somebody thinks. I mean, that's,
And you tell me what you would, what you would permit as far as the vote, and I can make sure that this doesn't exceed.
That's not the way they do it.
ideally, it would be no taller than the height of the home there.
If
And I
that's
understand that might keep you from getting the vehicle that you want inside, but that's not really a hardship. That's a hardship that you'd be creating by owning that vehicle versus another vehicle.
I understand. And I will try to abide by what I need to, by what you tell me here.
Well, like I said, I don't have near the problem with the siding material as I would with
Okay.
the structure exceeding.
I can verify that, so it's not a guess, I would think, to what you need.
So for me, as far as long as it can stay roof height or lower of the house. Okay, that's the only questions I had for you. Thank you.
Jim, can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
a clarifying question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Were you folks under the understanding you were coming in here looking for a special use only for the siding?
Well, for me, I wasn't aware that the building height was not in compliance with the
Oh,
normal
that's not,
requirements.
that's not my question. Was it your assumption that you were coming in here for a special use only for the metal siding?
Yes,
Okay, then I don't see an issue because they've already committed to complying with other aspects of the code.
Yeah, I agree. But then you have to change.
Well, it still would need
Yeah,
to
it's
come in
still-
for, I
Well, yeah,
apologize, I thought
they still
information
have
was
to submit
communicated.
formal
but-
plans.
No.
They still have to submit formal plans, but they're only asking for a special use variance on the metal siding.
Can we cross off the other special use? And
Well, I mean, so part of that is it depends on if Mr. Reinhardt wants to bring this, as presented, with the plans he provided the city, it resulted in a structure that was gonna be 4 feet taller, okay? So then as a result of that, then that put the structure, as it requires a special use for that context as well
Right.
now.
I
he's saying that
I
he
understand, but we
Okay.
could then,
So
we
we
could
can-
then entertain a vote
We can,
to approve a special use for siding only, but compliance with all
Yeah.
other aspects of the code.
and we can do that. I'm just,
Yeah, we
But I
can
wanna-
that's what we're
modify.
saying, that's what we're talking.
I just want to make you aware that by complying with all other aspects,
Yeah.
the roof height would have to be as tall as the house or lower.
No taller than the house.
That
You
is,
want that?
that is correct. We could, that could be, yeah, we could
Okay.
remove
That's
that,
what I'm saying.
portion and just approve in essence a special use for, of,
If I'm trying to answer your question, I didn't know really what I'm allowed to do or not. So whether I can use my materials here by siding my lumber determines whether I can move forward on a shed.
Can-
So just the siding or whatever, at one point, one of the gentlemen said, if
Hey,
it's
stop
a-
for just a second. Can you step up there by the microphone? This is on TV and they're not able to pick you up.
So I'm coming here just trying to figure out what is permissible for me to do, whether I can move forward.
Yeah,
And the siding was what was presented to me as the holdup to go forward. The height of the building was not presented to me that there was a problem. I will verify that we're in compliance to the height of the home.
but you said you and Joe talked about it when he was out there, though?
Yes,
the
we
height of
talked
it.
about
So-
the height.
So I think he was trying to make you aware of the fact that it can't exceed the height of the house.
Yeah, he, just from his point and my point of not measuring, but standing there looking back at it, we thought it would be pretty close
Okay,
to the height. But I will need to verify that we're not in excess of what's
Okay.
permissible. But what I also don't know, at very early on, somebody said, well, if I'm building a new shed, I would have to put drywall on the interior of the shed. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense because it's an uncontrolled climate.
I wouldn't worry about that part.
Well, we're
So-
addressing zoning here.
So how do I know what all is permissible, within this code going forward?
They can tell you when you come up with a plan for the building, and, but I wouldn't worry about the drywall part of it. We're here for the zoning part right now, so, yeah.
Yeah, that, just to confirm that would probably be something you'd have to talk with Joe, because this is just planning and zoning aspect, that would be related back to the building code portion of, I believe they use the as International Residential Building Code, the IRC sets the standards, and the city's adopted a certain year's version of those. So Joe could sit down with you and go over what that year's version requires in terms of standards for things, but I unfortunately don't know off the top of my head what they are, but you'd have to sit down with Joe on that.
And on my end, I apologize that I'm naive, but I also wasn't sure how the M3 played in with the residential, standard residential M3, you know.
Yeah, the M3 zoning is a industrial, it's a transitional zoning. So what happens is it allows industrial uses, but if there is a residential use, it's treated as an R2 single-family zoning. So that's how that relates back, is because
Asking that, I don't know.
if you look, I believe as Mr. Stoller alluded to, in the code, it talks about how an accessory structure is only allowed to have metal exterior in a residentially zoned area, or that's why you have to have the special use for it. And that's because in this instance too, even though it is zoned M3, if it is being used as residential, it then defaults to R2 zoning requirements. So again, in R2, you would have to get a special use for a material, an accessory structure with metal exterior, so that's why we're doing it in this instance.
Just out of curiosity, are you gonna build that as a pole building or as, so,
Do you
drywall
have,
on
do you
the
have
pole
this
buildings?
packet here?
Yes,
You-
yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it shows that.
I saw the post, but I didn't know if you were,
Center, the poles and.
okay, all right. I think we've got everything we need.
We're all right now.
Well, I don't see anyone to speak for or against. So, want to close that portion and move on to the findings? Has everybody got their sheet?
Oh, yep, sure do.
Okay. We ready?
Yeah.
All right, number one, will the establishment, maintenance, and operation of the proposed special use permit be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare? No. Will the proposed special use permit be injurious to the use or enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity of uses permitted in the district?
No.
No. Will the proposed special use permit diminish or impair property values within the surrounding area?
No.
No. Will the establishment of the proposed special use permit impede the orderly development or improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the subject zoning district? No. Are or have adequate utilities, access, roads, drainage, or other necessary facilities to be or have been provided? Yes. Are or have adequate measures to be or have been taken to provide ingress and egress from the site, minimizing traffic congestion and hazards on public streets? Yes. And last, will the proposed special use permit conform to all other applicable regulations of the zoning district? Yes. All right, so,
I'll make a motion that we approve request.
Recommend the council?
Oh, recommend the council.
so Ed made the motion?
Real quick, just to clarify, so we are only approving the exterior material, we're
Correct.
stating
He'll
that
have to comply with everything
he has to
else.
comply with everything else.
Yes.
Can you understand that, Mr. Reinhardt? There's no, okay, just want to make sure everyone was clear before we move forward and took a vote there.
Ed, can we amend the?
Somebody,
Can we amend the motion to include the condition of compliance with other aspects of the zoning code?
sure.
What about the material? Do we want to make
Yeah,
sure,
we can do that.
make sure it's in near new condition? No?
Looks like it's pretty good.
Painted.
Looks good to me.
Okay, so it's gonna be, you're
I
making a
would amend the
motion.
motion for compliance with the balance of the zoning code,
Okay.
including height setbacks.
So Mike McCarthy's making the motion?
Amending, the or am I amending?
We're
He's
amending-
amending.
We're amending Ed's motion.
He's amending Ed's motion.
Whichever
So are
way
you
you want to do
seconding?
it, Jim, I'm happy.
I'll
Are
second.
you are you seconding Ed's
I'll
motion?
second that.
All right.
With the amendment.
Well, okay, wait a second, amended Ed's motion.
And
Yeah.
seconded.
Okay, right.
Whatever we have to
We
comply,
work well.
comply with, yeah, we work with you. He picks my pocket, I pick his.
Just get back what I took.
And so so we have a,
It's the only copy.
okay, I think we're gonna need someone to just put that motion forward. So let's go ahead and just say that that's the motion. We'll call Mike's motion the new, because we have to amend that. So the motion made by, Mike McCarthy is that the structure will meet all city regulations in relation to height, so it's just approving the metal facade.
No, that is not what we said. Let's restate it. The motion is to approve, subject to condition of compliance with all other aspects of the zoning ordinance, which go beyond height to setback and coverage.
Correct. Okay, so we gotta figure out how we, okay, because the problem is the motion as it goes prior to that specifically includes height. Okay, I'll have to work out the wording of that later, okay.
All right.
So who seconded that?
I guess
I
I
guess.
guess.
I second.
Okay.
So you just switch roles.
Okay, so Mike.
Mike amended it. I second the amended.
Okay, I guess we can go ahead and vote.
Okay.
Jim Weber,
Yes.
Gino Ori,
Yes.
Ed Zosky,
Yes.
Michael McCarthy,
Yes.
Gina Driscoll.
Yes.
Alright, so we got 5 in favor. So, that means that the case will go a week and a day from today, so on the 19th, there will be the case will go before the city council. We always suggest that you come just in case someone that couldn't make it here decides
Ask a question or something.
yeah, in case the council would have questions, or again, if someone would come up with opposition, you'd have the ability to speak and not be unrepresented. Again, it doesn't take real long usually. It's presented. Yeah, it would be a week and a day from today. So, yeah, it would be the 19th.
There's a pile of stuff you can have back.
So,
Might need counsel.
again, if you can attend, it's great. If not, again, I don't think since there was not a whole lot of opposition here, but it would just be if council did have any questions.
Okay.
So just let us know. I mean, if you'd like us to
The attorney can.
have it tabled and not taken to council, the next one, just communicate with myself or Ty or someone at the city, and we can always have that go to council at a later date. But just let us know what you'd like to do.
Your letter is back.
All right.
Thanks.
We just need to
Thank
move
you,
to
guys.
adjourn the meeting.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Did we approve it?
Second that, definitely.
Okay, I motion, Dino seconded.
All right.
Let's go home.
This game's over.
Haven't had supper yet.
Well, I did before I came. Yeah, you want to vote for adjournment?
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye. Okay, good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks. Ah, that was crazy.
I apologize for keeping you all here a few extra.
No,
Oh, you're all right.